Hi folks, how are you doing? An interesting round 3 of the Tata Steel tournament has ended. We've had two decisive results. Caruana beat Karjakin and Harikrishna has won against Dominguez in two very long, over 6 hours I think, exhausting and complicated games in which white player prevailed. The rest of the games have been draws, but at least one of these games, the one I selected for the video, has been, although it was the first one to finish, it was very, very exciting. Really an amazing game, lots of fireworks here, as we're gonna see. So just another thing, tomorrow is a rest day, so I will try to take advantage of the fact to try to create more videos over other games I haven't looked at. Maybe from the Challengers group, there have been also very interesting games there, or maybe some other games from the Masters group, which I haven't had the opportunity to analyze. So there we go with the game from today. It is the game between Luke Van Wely and Anish Giri, the battle between Dutch players. And there we go. Van Wely is white, he plays d4, knight f6, bishop g5, the Trompowsky, which was today also used by Rapport to try to beat Aronian. That game has ended in a draw. Now here are lots of possibilities here for black. For instance, I like the knight e4 move, but also possible to play d5, just keeping under control the center. c5 is very promising move as well, very fighting. But okay, here another very main line is to play e6. Try to not spoil your own pawn structure by recapturing a pawn after the bishop takes. Here white plays e4, threatening to go e5, and obviously black is not going to let white do that, so h6. And here going back makes no sense because the pawn on e4 would fall, and also white would have lost 10 piece without sense. So he must be ready, playing the Trompowsky, white must be ready to give up the bishop pair, so bishop takes, queen takes. And here lots of possibilities, and that's one of the main advantages of the Trompowsky. Lots of flexibility in the move orders. That's why lots of people prefer to use it, just to avoid theory, etc. Knight f3, knight c3 is possible, etc. Right? Here Luke played c3, defending that pawn on d4 against future threats which are obviously going to come, like e5 or c5, trying to undermine this great pawn center. Here d6 is played, and after bishop d3, e5. Anish has been preparing with d6 this move just to attack the center. Interesting move. Knight e2, developing the piece into a correct place. Why not knight f3? Well, in my opinion, the bishop g4 pin could be a little bit irritating, not very comfortable. And otherwise, and also white would like to play f4 after castling, a quick e4, which we'll in fact see in the game. So knight e2 is much more flexible and seems much correct. Queen d8. Now if you want to develop the bishop through e7, this is a move you must do. Otherwise, black can play also with g6, bishop g7, imitating more or less the schemes in the Moscow or anti-Moscow Slav or semi-Slav, I'm not really sure, but very similar to those schemes. Now queen d8 was played here, bishop, short castle, bishop e7, and the natural looking move f4. White is trying to open the center, open the king side, and take advantage of his better development to attack. Very correct approach. Short castle, knight d2, completing development, and now the pawn on e5 is under lots of attack, so black gives it up, and here the knight takes on d4, opening this diagonal for the queen, and also centralizing a good knight there. Rook e8 is played here, maybe not the best decision, because it weakens a little bit this f7 square, and don't you forget that white has lots of development, so this could be a target. And well, it seems more correct to play something like knight c6, challenging this knight. Okay, and if he takes, b takes c6, black will spoil his pawn, break his pawn formation, his pawn structure, but he still has the bishop pair and should have enough counterplay to not have lots of problems. if, for instance, knight f3, takes, c6, and controlling lots of central squares, and there shouldn't be great problems here for black, although this is still to be played. White could potentially have an attack here. But anyway, rook e8 seems not to be the best move here. Immediately putting pressure on the king side with queen h5. Here knight d7 was played, and there we go. Here we start with all the variations we have in this game. Really lots of firework here. Bishop c4 was played by Wely here, and it seems that white could have tried even more promising moves. And in this case, this is e5, a very interesting alternative. Now, computer suggests to play knight c5 to keep the more or less an equal game, not to lose, not to let white have lots of advantage. Now bishop c2 going back, and well, still a sharp and double-edged position. Instead, let us take a look at the lines after f takes e5, f takes e5, d takes e5, f takes e5, which are very, very interesting. Now, obviously, there is a threat on f7, and it seems the only possibility to protect it, other than, going back with rook f8, now bishop c4, and the pressure is unbearable. There is no way of protecting it. Just taking on, for instance, e5 is just giving up the material without much compensation. But instead, after f takes e5 in this position, knight takes e5 now, without having played rook f8, bishop c4, seems to be better, although white has a really, really interesting attack here. Now the knight has taken a pawn without being protected, so white takes it, but now black has an intermediate move, playing bishop g5, discovering the attack from the rook against the queen, and at the same time attacking the knight on d2. So the queen, let's go away, queen g3, and now bishop takes d2. But now white still has lots of attack going on, and in fact there is a very, very strong and very amazing, spectacular move here. Rook takes f7. Just threatening checkmate in 1 on g7, so black cannot just take it that easily, because, for instance, king takes f7, now rook f1 check, king g8, and after queen g6, the checkmate on a7 is practically impossible to stop. So after rook takes f7, it seems black has to play bishop e3 check, king h1, and now try to exchange queens with queen g5, avoiding the checkmate. And after takes, the rook takes on c7, and white is up a pawn. Although black has the bishop pair, and well, this is an advantage for white, but not over yet. Black king is still vulnerable, but there are not that many pieces available. And certainly this was a very, very interesting alternative. Commentators there in the commentating room and the live stream were analyzing this variation constantly, and it seemed really interesting, this e5 move. But anyway, Luke didn't go for this. He went for bishop c4, which, okay, is also putting lots of pressure on f7, but it seemed much better to play this e5 with lots of interesting variations. So now rook f8 is more or less forced, and now he goes e5. Another interesting alternative here, I think, was rook e1, for instance, just bringing the last piece into the attack and waiting for black to define his intentions, to define his pieces. But okay, e5 is also okay. Just this is all about attack. But here black just untangles a little, just relieves a little pressure. Knight b6 with a tempo, attacking the bishop. Now white wants to keep the bishop on this important diagonal, bishop b3. And now he has this c5 move. Once again, here lots of possibilities of captures. E takes d6 was played here. Instead, I think it was also possible, for instance, to retreat. And well, here black computer suggests to play a5 to threaten a4, rook a d1, x-raying, a4, bishop c2, and queen c7, getting away from that d file. And well, it seems black is doing okay. White still can have some attack there on the light squares on the king side, etc., with these dangerous looking pawns on f and e, but it seems black has developed some pieces and will be more or less on time to stop the threats. but he went for this. He takes. White went for this. He takes d6 after c5. C takes d4, and here, well, once again, queen takes d6, knight f3, bishop e6, completing development. Also seems fine, but instead he took on d4. Now takes e7, queen takes e7, rook e1, bringing the other rook into the game with tempo, queen d8, and knight e4. Now white has, once again, lots of potential for attack, all the pieces developed and targeting into the king side. Really dreaming position. D takes c3. Nothing wrong. Well, there was nothing wrong. I guess taking on c3, taking bad, just avoiding counterplay for black. Maybe bishop e6, f5, take. I don't know. Still, white could have some attack, but a couple of pieces have been exchanged, and black hasn't that much counterplay. But instead, after d takes c3, white plays f5. So very interesting. Just going for the attack. And here, after queen d4 check, king h1, c takes b2. And this game and this position, this kind of structure, reminds me a little, don't know if I'm the only one, of that game, of that most famous game from the last World Championship match between Carlsen and Anand, that Nimzo-Indian game in which Anand was with white attacking here on the king side heavily, and black in that game Carlsen was relying on his passed pawn on the queen side as his only counterplay, and finally it got to promote and won the game as Anand blundered. So this is, I think, a little bit similar to that. Black is relying on this pawn now on b2 to, well, create compensation and create counterplay. And, well, f6, there we go. The only move that makes sense here. White has to attack, nothing else he can do. And here, practically just an only move for black not to be crushed, because otherwise he's going to be really crushed in a couple of moves. Bishop e6. F takes g7 is played here. But once again, white had another very interesting alternative, which I think is basically winning. But anyway, well, lots of analysis could be done there. I'm not that good player, but I think this is very interesting. So with the help of engines, I analyze these lines. The move I'm meaning is bishop takes d6, f takes d6, and now f7. Now obviously black can take because queen takes and the rook is protecting him. So only two moves possible here: king h7 and king h8. King h8 seems the reasonable move. And now white is, well, let us see what happens if king h7. This is losing very fast because knight g5 check, king h8 only move, and now queen g6, threatening to checkmate in one. And obviously, well, what can white do? What can black do? Not taking the knight won't help him, as this is checkmate in one, and promoting to a queen won't help him either because the rook just takes and the threat is still there. So here, king h8 seems better, but now knight g5 is still is threat there. The point is now white is not checking as earlier with the king on h7. This is not check yet, and black is on time to play this important queen d3 move, defending just the g6 square and preventing white queen from going there and checkmating. But now the knight takes on e6. This is already a pawn up, and now he's attacking the rook on f8, which cannot go away that easily because the pawn is going to promote. So I think this is almost winning for white, as he's up a pawn and he's going to win the exchange. And if he's careful enough with this passed pawn on b2, this should be winning for white. So this was a very interesting, once again, alternative, which was not played in the game, but it is maybe as interesting as interesting as flashy as the game, or even more. So f takes g7 was played here. Obviously, once again, king takes g7 is not a move you're willing to make, because after rook f6, black can easily resign, because there is no reasonable way to stop this threat of white taking on h6 and checkmating black. So queen takes g7 is the move, and now rook f3 was played. And once again, it seems that Van Wely missed an opportunity here. It seems that moving the other rook with the same idea of playing rook g3, rook e3. Moving the rook from the e file, not from the f file. It seems it's stronger, but we'll see. I find out the reason, and we're gonna see it, and we're going to compare it with what happened in the game. The point is that now black is going to do more or less the same as in the game, as we will see now. Rook a8. The point is he's going to go to c1 and try to promote his b pawn. Now rook g3, rook c1. Now rook takes g7, king takes g7, and now the point is queen e5 check, f6, queen g3 check, king h7, and now white has this very important and very interesting and very wise move, queen f4. The rook, now white rook is on f1, not on e1, as we will see in the game, as he moved the one on f1. And the point is that now the queen is protecting the rook on f1 and is attacking the one on c1, the black rook on c1 with the rook and the queen, so that black cannot promote because this rook would be taken. And this is the basic difference, I guess. There might be more, but this is why moving the rook from the e file, not the f file, was much stronger, it seems. So after queen takes g7, Van Wely moved the rook on f file, rook f3, and here rook a8 and rook g3. Very interesting. White is going to win the rook on g7 as it is pinned against the king, but black has lots of counterplay on the c file with this passed pawn on b2. So probably the move order doesn't make much difference here. Black took on g3, h takes, now rook ac1. And here once again, and I think this is the last time Luc Van Wely could have won the game. He went bishop d1, which is more or less forcing a draw. There was another possibilities here, playing knight f6 check. Now going to h8 is not an option because the queen takes on h6 and that's checkmate. He cannot go to h7, so king g7 is forced, and now queen e5 is the key move. It's defending the rook on e1, and it's threatening some discovered checks with the knight. And well, there are a couple of possibilities here. Taking on e1 doesn't seem the best one because the queen takes, and now once again a couple of possibilities. If the king takes on f6, queen f2 check, whatever, a knight take on b2, and now this is queen against a knight and the rook, and well, this maybe it could take some time, but this should be winning for white. And otherwise, if black does not take here and for instance goes rook c8 to play rook c1 and just threaten, just win the queen and win the game, now the knight escapes, knight h5, and now white can easily stop the threats on the back rank. And well, this should be once again winning for black. For white, sorry. So after queen e5, taking on e1 doesn't seem the best move. Instead, rook fc8 just seems better. But even here, white has lots of possibilities to win the game. In fact, I think this must be forced win, because now knight h5, double check. King f8, this is more or less forcing line, and now very strong and very interesting move, king h2, getting away from the pin. Now black can promote, he's up lots of material, but black has a very strong attack. Queen g7 check, king e8, and now bishop takes e6, very strong move. Taking on e6, of course, is not an option. Rook takes e6 leads to a quick checkmate. So here black takes on e1, and now queen h8 check is the key move. Interesting enough, queen takes f7, which seems natural looking. After king d8, white has white hasn't got any more useful checkmates. I mean checks, and it seems he's losing immediately because he has well, apart from all the material advantage black has, he has the threat of checkmating white in one move, for instance. So the correct check is on h8, king here. Now queen f6 check, king d6. The difference with the previous one is now that's now king queen e8 is knight g7 check, king f8 and checkmate. So king d6 is forced. Now bishop f5, discovered check. Rook e6 seems to be the best. Queen d4 check, king c7, and now the bishop on f5 takes the queen on b1, and this is well, a queen and a bishop against two rooks, and this should be once again winning for white. So of course it's easy to see all this at home with your engine and being comfortably sitting in front of your computer, and Locke has no possible way to calculate all this, having all the having all the time travel he had. So this was a very, very interesting line, but of course it was not easy for a human to calculate it in very little time. But there it goes. White had once again a winning possibility there. But instead bishop d1 was played, and well, now this is going towards a draw, because black promotes, and after queen takes h6, although white is threatening checkmate, black can avoid it, and white will have to go for the perpetual check. Knight d5, avoiding this knight f6 check, and queen g5 check, and a draw was agreed here because this is a perpetual, and both players finished this game in just 30 moves. But although it was a relatively quick draw, it was very exciting, as you saw the alternative moves that both players had, especially Luke Van Bailey with white, with some very spectacular winning lines were very interesting. So hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching, and see you there with other videos.